next performer from Jasper, Indiana, EV Mae.
Those dirt road dives where we dance each night in your arms taught me to never forget. It can be the cure, it can be the curse, floating up in the clouds and wondering why it don't work. Ain't no recipe for it, just gotta hit my knees and pray for it. Life ain't what they cut it out to be. Your heart being broke, no it don't come cheap. When you're falling, you're all in, praying that you don't get hurt. It can be the cure, it can be the curse. It can be the cure, it can be the curse. Thank you.
It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Markward takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. Well, welcome to Fort Worth Musical Moments. I'm Brent Adams along with my buddy Steve Markward, and we're off and running on another episode. And Steve, I'm super excited about this one because it's always exciting to see young artists chasing their dreams and realizing their full potential. And that's what we have here this week with our special guest.
Yes, and it's our job to provide them with the right vehicle to be able to chase that dream. And we're thrilled to have our newest member of the Clarksville Creative Sound label family, EV Mae, and she's in the studio because she's right in the middle of recording her new album with our very own Curt Ryle. So good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Morning. How you guys doing?
Doing great here under the watchful eye of Curt Ryle, and I understand it has been a busy week this week there in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, we've been at it all week, and it's been so awesome to meet all the great performers and musicians that come in and play on the album.
Well, tell us about that. You've had some A-listers here with you this week, Curt.
Man, we had a lot of people in here. We had Dolly Parton's piano player, or her record producer was playing piano on the session. Kenny Chesney's guitar player was playing on it. We had the great Jimmy Carter on bass. I mean, it's just a monster group of musicians. And Evie and I spent about a week writing songs for this album. And there's all the musicians right there that was on the session. And what a great group of musicians that is. Oh my goodness gracious. I was so thrilled with how everything came out. And Evie, of course, was just nailing, even her scratch vocals were great. So yeah, it's been a really, really fun week, and we got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I love to hear. Well, I tell you what, I've had the privilege of watching Evie hone her craft over the past few years. Just a little backstory here. She was first brought to my attention by a high school classmate, and I will give him a shout out here, Brent Seibert, who's a teacher at Jasper Middle School in Jasper, Indiana, which is my hometown. He reached out to me and said, hey, you got to check this girl out. She's going places here. She's a hard worker and has a lot of talent. And Steve, you and I know this, and Curt, you know this. Yeah, we hear tons of people, and everybody says, hey, these people are the real deal. Sometimes maybe not so much, but here there was no question about it. And he was definitely spot on with this one.
You know, about 1 in 30 people actually passed the test for us to want to take them in and record them. And the first time I saw Evie on film, I was like, that's it right there. That's the look. That's the voice, total package, man. And even Braden agrees with that, doesn't he, Evie? These two kids have been inseparable. I can't pull them apart long enough to get any work done. And so Braden's going off to be what is he being today?
Lifeguard.
A lifeguard today. So we don't have to tolerate him today. It's been fun. We had a lot of fun here, guys.
For anybody unfamiliar, that's his son, Braden Ryle, who is a great artist in his own right here.
Yeah. I was going to suggest you send Braden away because Evie's got a lot of work to do.
Last night I took him out to eat catfish, and then I said, Braden, why don't you take Evie back home? You know, because they're staying in their RV while they're in town. She's here from Indiana, so Braden comes straggling in about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "What did you guys do?" Well, we watched movies, so apparently they got TVs and stuff in the camper. So Evie's parents, I'm sure, were sitting there. Dad, I think, had a loaded shotgun, but it all went well, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All fodder for future songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Farron, were you sleeping? I don't know if Farron's in the background. Were you sleeping?
It is.
He can hear you. Yeah, he had a shotgun loaded, I'm pretty sure. I remember when my daughter was that age, and I kept it with me all the time. So,
Well,
we're just kids. These kids had a lot of fun together.
I think it's cool. I mean, Braden's been making music and been a recording artist and an artist in the true sense since he was how old, Curt?
Well, he started at 6.
Yeah.
So he recorded his first single at 6, did his first concert at 6.
They got a late start.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that, because Evie, I'm sure with your friend base and the people that you grew up with, sometimes it's hard for them to relate and for you to relate to them what it's like to do what you're doing. And especially as you move your singing, your music career to a different level. And I'm sure it's important to you to have peers that you can relate to and they understand kind of what you're doing and what you're going through.
Yeah, meeting Braden has been amazing. We actually, the other night we were on the phone and we wrote an entire song, and it's now going to be on the album too.
Yeah.
But literally 2 nights ago we wrote it over the phone.
What's the name of that song?
It's called Break My Heart.
Break My Heart. Well, and so you've been writing. You and Curt have been writing together. Is that right?
Oh yeah, about a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
I was down here and we wrote about 7 songs, and then I already had some that I had written that are going to be on there too.
And Evie has been. This is her first time in a professional setting in a studio. So she got to see how the stuff works. And Steve, of course, you've done this many times, but it is quite. If it's your first time to be in the studio with this caliber of musicians, it is. I'll let you speak on that. What did you think?
I was in awe all day watching them put this music together. They never heard these songs before, and then they can just look at a piece of paper and create something amazing. It was so cool to watch them create a song.
You use the key word you use there is create, and that's the difference between a good studio musician and maybe a live performance musician, band members or whatever. And they're both, awesome in their own right. But to hear these guys, to watch these folks come in there, Curt puts I think what blew me away was how Curt manages that whole process and how efficient it is, and how these guys all seem to be in sync with each other. But then they create these iconic parts of these songs, and to me, it was amazing. And so talk about that experience with you, just listening to that stuff come to life.
Yeah, it was so amazing. And Curt, he does such a great job. He just kept the ball rolling. They would finish one song, and then he'd be like, all right, move on to the next. He kept them all going, keeping them in line to make sure we get everything done as quick as possible and efficiently. And we created some really cool songs yesterday. Hearing them was just amazing. They're all so talented, and it was insane.
And we knew we had written some really good songs, but until you hear the music, it's kind of like a baby's being born when that music comes with those lyrics and it all starts coming together. I think, Steve, we got some really special things on Evie. I'm really looking forward to releasing a single on her. And I really think she's the total package. I really mean it. I worked with this kid now. This is the 2nd week, and I'm here to tell you, she's just got a great personality, and she's always got that beautiful, warm smile on her face, and people love that. And I'm excited about it.
Well, and I don't want to steal Brent's thunder. Brent, I'm sure you've got a lot of things to bring up here, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but last week when Curt and I were on the phone talking, we talk just about every day, and I was asking how the songwriting portion was going with you, Evie, and I said, Curt, remember Evie, she's got that persona, and big part of her brand, and I'm real big on branding, as you can tell, and I believe a real big part of your brand is your love of the outdoors and the fact that you're just as comfortable in fatigues as you are jeans or camo, you are jeans, and so did you guys actually write a song about your outdoor?
We actually took his advice, didn't we?
We did.
I told her, I said, Steve thinks we are to write something. And I told her about what you said, Steve. So tell Steve about the song we wrote that's got your truck in it and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And your name and all that.
So one of the songs on the album is called Pass Me On By. And it talks about my truck named Ethel, because I drive a big F-250 back home. And it talks about when I shoot my guns and basically just how much I love to be outdoors. And there's me and Charlie. Yeah. That is my 50-year-old best friend right there. He taught me how to hunt and shoot a gun, and we have fun for sure. And I love to fish.
Oh, look at that. That was a cool picture. Oh, look at that catfish.
It was a pretty decent catfish. Yeah, it tasted good, too.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just like to be outside.
You kind of got the Annie Oakley thing going on there, and I think boys like Braden needs to take note of that, actually.
We even used that in the song, didn't we?
We did.
Annie Oakley is
they call me Annie Oakley when I'm shooting my gun.
They're really good songs, and they're very well written.
Yes.
She plays a big role in songwriting. A lot of artists do, some don't. Some just come in and they're just like flies on the wall. They just want to soak it up and learn. But Evie's not afraid to jump out there and throw out. She said, look, my truck's name is Ethel. We got to get that in there. And I said, we will.
You remember back in the old days when you go to a gas station and all those gas stations were full serve, they come up and they say regular or Ethel.
That's right. I remember that.
You guys are old.
I'm feeling morning, I can tell you that.
Well, I tell you, one of the things that we talk about here is you brought up her dad, Farron. And if there's any question about where this family's musical roots lie, yes, he is named after Farron Young, the great country music singer, and they've never strayed too far from that. Tell us a bit about who some of your musical influences were growing up and how you got into all this.
Yeah, so growing up, I definitely loved the older artists, especially coming from my grandparents. My grandma actually named Dad Farron because she thought Farron Young was very hot. She had a crush on him. So she named Dad Farron after him. But I've always loved Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline. I actually have only one cool fact about myself. It's that I have the same birthday as Patsy Cline. And I cherish that fact. But I love the older artists for sure.
Who are you listening to these days?
The newer artists that I'm listening to are mostly about Zach Bryan, like Coulter Wall, those kind of artists. I'm really liking Lainey Wilson and what she's doing. I think she's really in line with what I want to do with my music.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Lainey Wilson here because I've got a clip queued up, and this is it features Ethel in this clip here. I know you know what I'm talking about here. You did a little cover a couple months back for social media of Heart Like a Truck, and I want to share that with everybody so they can get a sense of your voice if they're not familiar, and a little bit about what you're all about here. So that's Ethel.
Yes, that is my baby.
And if people get out there,
when you drive that truck, do you have to get a couple of phone books to put under you?
I got a little booster seat. No, no, the pedals actually move forward, so I can reach them.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
They
I
really
swear.
do?
Yeah, they move forward so that I can reach them.
That is one big truck.
Yeah. Yeah, the diesel fuel's the down part of that, though. Paying for that.
How
That's a
much?
great.
How much you fill it up?
So
Right.
the other day I filled up from a quarter of a tank and it was $70.
My God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Curt,
Yeah.
that would be a great truck to take Braden to the train station in.
I think he could go in the back of that real easily.
Yeah. I think he fit.
He's on notice. And you mentioned Zach Bryan, that you've got a good little cover of Into the Orange in there as well. So
Oh, yes.
folks can get out on social media and talk about that. So tell us a bit about growing up in Jasper, Indiana. You know, a fast fact, Jasper is the home of Kimball International, which was recently sold. You know, they're a contract electronics manufacturer, but back in the day, also an important musical instrument company here. And just down the road in West Baden, Indiana, they produced the Kimball piano, which I'm sure was in a lot of studios back in the day here. You know, and Evie has made the front page. You know, you've made it in your hometown when you're on the front page of the hometown newspaper, and for folks in that area, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Growing up there has been great because it's such a small town, but there's such a community there. I definitely would not be where I am today without all the friends and family that have helped me along the way. But the one thing about Jasper mainly is there's a lot of corn. There's a lot of corn. And we actually wrote a song called Where the Corn Grows, and it's about back home. But yeah, there is a lot of corn. But it's been great.
When I'm in Clarksville visiting with Curt and we go out to lunch, I always like to take Braden with us because we get free food, because he's kind of a, you know, Clarksville is a fairly good sized town, close to being a city, I guess. But Braden is a celebrity. Do you have that same experience in your little town?
Oh yes, small town famous, I swear. I will be going out to eat and someone will come up to me. I've never seen this person before, and they'll be like, "Oh, hi, EV Mae, how are you doing?" They're just asking me about my music and everything. They're talking to me like they've known me my whole life, and I have no clue who they are, but it's crazy.
Well, you know,
Free food?
No, I don't get free food. That sucks.
Steve only comes to visit so he can get free food, because Braden will take him out to eat, and they just give him their food.
Oh.
Here's the thing, you know, you look at Curt's the history of Curt's career and all the notable people that he's played with and toured with and gotten to know, and who's who of country music, and yet Curt is relegated in Clarksville to being Braden's dad.
That's right. That's all I am.
Yeah, Braden's dad. That's it.
And Steve's partner, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's how my dad is too. It used to be everyone knew Farron last year because he was in a band. He's in a band named called Overdrive, and now since I've started doing stuff with music, he is now gone to EV Mae's dad. And people come up to him in public and be like, "Oh, are you EV Mae's dad?" And he'll be like, "Yeah, that's me." Like, he doesn't have a name anymore.
One of the things I have discovered though about Farron is that I knew he played. I knew Evie's got a band and they play a lot. They work a lot. They're touring band. But her dad is a great musician. Farron, I haven't had a chance to tell you that, but I've actually watching these little videos and things. He's a really good player. He's a bass player, but he plays the guitar very well too. So you're in good hands.
Yeah,
you are.
Well, growing up, he played a lot around the house. He always had an acoustic in his hand, so that's where I got it from with my music and everything, for sure.
Well, I think between Evie and her family and Mackenzie and her family and maybe some of these other folks, we can put together a Clarksville Creative Sound family A-list band. You know,
I think that's a good idea, Steve. You know, Braden's got some musicians around here he likes too, and we probably just put a bunch of them together. Who knows? You might have to fire the A-list band and start going with Evie and Evie's band. Steve's got one of the best bands ever.
Work for minimum wage. I'm all over that.
Well, one of the things that Farron did really to help Evie cut her teeth early on is take her right down to Lower Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee, had her on the stages at places like Tootsie's and Rippy's, some of the legendary honky tonks there on Lower Broadway. You know, not many people take their daughter down there and do these gigs and play guitar for them. What was that whole experience like, and what did you get out of that? It seems like it gave you a ton of confidence to do what you do.
Yes. So definitely has. My first time playing down there, I was 9 years old, actually.
Wow.
We went down for my birthday because I love music, obviously. But we went down there, and there was this band playing, and we were talking to these ladies in sparkly cowboy hats. And they were like, "Oh yeah, or mom and dad were like, "Oh yeah, she loves music. She sings, actually." And these ladies stormed up on stage at Tootsie's, and they were like, "This girl needs to get up here and sing." So at 9 years old, I got pulled up on stage and I sang "Hell on Heels" by Pistol Annie's.
Wow.
And my mom, yeah, she was not proud in that moment, but
Hell on
since
Heels.
then I started, I got on the circuit, and would go down there. But on Father's Day 2 or 3 years ago, I did this audition thing, and I met Clyde Sutton, and he is a Nashville face. Like, you see him all over Broadway. He's amazing. But I was telling him that my dad sings too, and I was singing up there with him. And he actually pulled Dad up on stage on Father's Day, and that was his first time playing down on Broadway, was on Father's Day. So he was like, "You got to beat it somehow this year." I don't know how I'm gonna do that.
Well, you got him in a studio with a legendary producer. That's not bad.
That is true. Yeah.
I have discovered one thing about Evie's family is her mom, Amy, is basically in charge
Yes.
because she's got two kids, Farron and Evie. She has to kind of has to be the adult. I think I'm embarrassing Farron really bad now. I like Amy. Amy is fun. She comes in the studio. She's always got that same smile as Evie on her. And I told Evie, and Braden was in here one day, and I said, I know now where Evie gets her good looks. And of course, Evie and Braden are going, "Ooh, that's so, that's, what was the word you were saying?
Gross.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah, you shouldn't be." And I'm like, you can't even pay a compliment these kids today, but no, her mother's wonderful. I've really enjoyed having Amy in the studio.
She's definitely the glue that keeps me and Dad together,
Yeah.
because she is like the heart and soul of everything with music. She's definitely where I got my love from. She brings that love of music in there.
Well, one of the things that you've done to kind of convey that is leverage social media really well. I wanted to share a clip here for people who haven't had a chance to check you out on social media here. We showed Heart Like a Truck earlier, but this is another little clip here that really kind of conveys your talent.
Told me I'd sing at the Opry with lights all around. Made my eyes get all starry. Was Nashville bound. Used to wanna be a country star, but ever since you broke my heart, you make me wanna sing the blues, just like Janis did with Bobby. Maybe I'll be good as Presley, or maybe even Johnny. Every time I think of you, you make me wanna sing the blues.
Wow.
Not too bad, huh?
I actually wrote that song. It's called The Blues. It's going to be on the album too.
Beautiful. So, Curt, how you take something like that's so raw and beautiful and take it to the next level?
Well, when I hear a word like blues in a song, immediately, I think, okay, we need a little bit of bluesy guitar in here. But the guitar player, I told him he had a totally different approach. He had more of an approach of the old 60s style with this baritone guitar that thing came out really, really well.
It did. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. But I like that little thing. I've not heard that little clip she did there, but as you can see, my job is going to be easy getting her vocals. She's very, very good.
So I'm always curious with young artists, how do you strike that balance between your studies and music and having a life outside of music? I mean, do you think about music and songs at school a lot? And kind of how does that work as far as being able to write and pick up the guitar and do stuff when you're not in school?
So a lot of the times in school, it's hard to focus at school, okay? Especially with music going on, because you're
ADD,
like,
she needs on medication.
Yes. So
That's a different story.
I'll be in school and I'll just be like writing down little ideas for songs, or like thinking of songs that would be good to do a TikTok for, or learn how to play out when I play with the full band, and just always thinking of new ideas to bring fresh ideas into my music.
How often do you spend are you every day? Do you have a guitar in your hand and practicing, or how's that work?
Yeah, I always have my my white Gretsch guitar. I love that thing. Her name is Glory, but I always have Glory in my hand, picking on something new or trying to figure out how to write a new song.
I love how everything has names.
Oh yeah, everything. All our guitars have names, and all of our vehicles have names.
Yeah. Do you, Evie, do you think of yourself from your songwriting standpoint as a storyteller? I mean, you like to tell stories?
Yes, I think a song should have a story, and you should be able to follow it and be able to be like, oh yeah, this is what that means. And then I also like when people can relate to that story and be like, I understand, like I relate to it and feel that same way.
So you want people to be thinking about your song long after they've heard it, right?
Yeah.
So when you got in the studio, I know that can be a little bit of a grueling process, or maybe even a little intimidating with all these A-list players that Curt's brought in there. How long did it take you to really feel comfortable and kind of get into your groove?
Yesterday was something else. I don't think I ever I sat still and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm good now. Like yesterday I was on edge, like listening to everything, all their ideas and what they were doing. Like it was amazing. But last week with writing, when I was down here, the first day was definitely like I was a little nervous because I'd never met like Curt before or anything like that. But then when like the second day rolled around and Curt and me had like talked more, it was really easy to come up with these songs, and especially when Braden came down, because all our personalities blended together and it was so much fun.
I think one of the things that was astonishing to Evie was this thing right here.
Oh yeah.
If you see this, this is of course a Nashville number system chart, and this is what the musicians play to. And a lot of times they come in and I'll play them a little bit of the song, but a lot of times I'll just go, hey guys, it's 81 beats per minute, it's in the key of A, and it's straight eights. And they'll just go in there and without ever hearing the song and just play it. And I think that's the thing that is so astonishing to artists when they come into a recording facility with these great players, and they're so creative and they can just come up with these signature licks on demand. It's just crazy. It still is astonishing to me, and I've been a session player for 35 years, and it's funny because I told Evie, I said, now when they come in, you're going to think they're not paying attention because they're going to be talking to each other the whole time they're listening to the song, but they're hearing everything that's being played, and they're already coming up with ideas. So when they sit down, they just play. And she saw that, and
I was mind blown. Let me tell you, like watching them just look at this piece of paper and then go and do it, and like come up with these lead solos and little bitty licks that you just wouldn't think of normally. Like it's amazing how fast they can like create this song.
Well, how is that helping you raise your game as a vocalist?
Well, now I want to be on my game just to be like up there with them and be as good as them, right. To try and make my vocals sound as good as the like music does.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about the caliber of artists. You think about like Wanda Vick, who regularly graces the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, and the legendary musician, and not only a great fiddle player, but she plays how many different instruments, Curt?
Well, she's a world champion fiddle player, dobro player, mandolin, banjo, and guitar. And when I worked with her, when I was playing with Vern Gosden, she was with an all-girl band, and they were opening for us, and she played steel guitar. So I don't think there's anything she can't play with strings, and she's really, really amazing at all of them.
Yeah, I encourage anybody that's watching to go to YouTube, go on YouTube and look for the Wanda Vick videos. There's a lot of them out there, and there's some amazing stuff she does on the banjo. There's one that blows me away there, and and it's so cool, to know where these artists have been, where they're, who they surround themselves with, and to think, wow, I have access to this that's what blew me away when I first started recording with Curt. And yes, that Nashville numeric system, number system, was like hieroglyphics. I mean, I came in there with some original songs and I had chord charts, and Kurt's like, throws that aside. You just start, I said, what are you doing? He's writing out all these, hieroglyphics. And next thing you know, and then he showed me what he was doing, and it made sense, but there's no way, I wouldn't know how to even follow that as a musician, but these guys know. And the nice thing about it is those charts remain the same, and no matter what key you're in. So if you decide you need to jump to a different key, those charts, are still intact, which makes that whole process very efficient. And another thing, Evie, talk about just observing. I'm sure you had time to just observe Curt at the boards. I mean, that's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, like he's like pressing all these buttons, and I'm just like, how do you know which one is which? Because there's so many, and he's just acting like it's his everyday thing. Well, it is his everyday thing, but he's like an expert on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would make my head hurt trying to figure it out.
Well, I'll never forget one day I was staying there at the house, one of those visits, and we were right in the middle of doing some songs and recording, and we'd laid down the music tracks. And then I was so what was left was Curt kind of cleaning all that up and then getting ready for me to do final vocals, which is a fun, very challenging process. But you talk about growing as an artist very quickly when Curt's working with you on the vocals. But I remember Curt and I had breakfast upstairs, and then I went in my room to do something. He goes, I'm going to go on down to the studio. Just come on down when you're ready. So I came down about 15 minutes later, and I'm going down the stairs, and I'm hearing steel guitar. I'm like, steel guitar player back here? And I go, and there's Curt sitting at his board, and he's got that steel guitar between his legs, and he's punching buttons while he's playing that steel guitar. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, well, I wasn't happy with that little part that steel player did, so I'm laying a new part down. I'm like, what? That was amazing.
He is a production ninja.
I think I'm kind of crazy in some ways, but
I wasn't going to go there. I was going to let you do that.
Well, a lot of times, people, these musicians, as great as they are when they come in, you got to remember you got all these instruments in their headphones, and trying to balance the levels so that everybody can hear what they're doing. A lot of times, a steel player without frets on his instrument will have something a little out of tune, and so when I hear that, I have to fix it. I can't stand anything that's out of tune. So basically, that's what I was doing that day Steve's talking about. I don't like to go back and replace what other people did unless it's just I have to.
Well, you talk about your live music experiences. Now you're going to have a bunch of new songs to take out there on the road. You built quite a following, not only in your hometown, but also throughout Southern Indiana, Kentucky, into Tennessee. You talk about your band, the Tune Thrashers. First of all, tell us a bit about those cats and how that name came about.
Yeah, so we knew all these guys before, but obviously Dad is the bass player. I'm the lead singer. And then our lead guitar player, Stan LaGrange, he actually wrote a few songs for Diamond Rio back in the day. And he is amazing. Like he's insane on the guitar. And then the drummer is Rich Martin. He plays in Overdrive with my dad, actually. They grew up together, and I've known Rich my whole life too. And then the keyboard player is Kenny Hastings. He's out of Grandview, Indiana, and he's an amazing guy. He's really good on the keyboard, and he is so funny.
You got a good band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part about getting out there and getting on the stage and being in front of that live audience?
It's always the meeting new people. Like, I love meeting new people and seeing how they react to every song that I sing, or seeing them sing along to something that I'm doing. It's just so amazing. And the energy that you feel like from the crowd. My favorite place to play is definitely the Lincoln Amphitheater back at home. It houses about 1,500 people, but I played there about 2 or 3 times. And the first time I was there, I was 12 years old, or I had just turned 13 actually. And I was opening for the Beatles tribute band, and I walked out on that stage and seeing all those people, it was like mesmerizing. And everyone's like, oh, she's so nervous. Like, I really wasn't nervous. I was just excited. And as soon as I got off stage, I just started bawling. because I was just like on such a high from being out there in front of all those people. And I ran into my dad's arms backstage and I was like, Dad, this is what I want to do. Like, that was that moment where I was like, yeah, music is it. Like, that's what I want to do.
And to put that into perspective, that's probably the largest performance venue between Evansville, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky. Kind of right there in the middle. They call it Lincoln Amphitheater because it's at Lincoln State Park, which is the boyhood home of Abraham Lincoln. So there's a lot of history there. But they built a great amphitheater, and you get a lot of tribute bands, a few original acts that come through there. But it's kind of like the summertime convergence spot for people who like music but can't travel to some bigger cities to see it. So to get on that stage, you might get 4,000 or 5,000 people in there. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was so cool. That was the best show ever.
And if he's watching, shout out to our friend Mark Stezik, who books a lot of those shows for that place. Another guy that goes back to my youth, his dad being a teacher at the school that we went to, and he and I spent some early college time together. So good dude there, and brings some great music through that area. So what's performance looking like for you for this summer?
So my next gig is at the Spencer County Fair on June 23rd. It's from 7 to 10 Eastern. And then July 8th, I will be playing live on the Banks in Owensboro, Kentucky, 8 to 10. And then July 9th, I play the Perry County Fair from 5 to 7.
Owensboro, Kentucky, the home of the Bluegrass Hall of Fame. Any passion for bluegrass in there as well for you?
Oh, I love bluegrass music. It's fun to listen to for sure. I don't necessarily like to sing it, but I love listening to bluegrass.
Uh-huh. And Steve, I'm sure a lot of people tuning in say, hey, you're talking a lot about an artist from Indiana who is recording in Clarksville, Tennessee. What's this have to do with Fort Worth? But there's a pathway here.
There is a pathway, and Fort Worth is rapidly becoming one of the live music capitals of the world, especially when you talk about traditional country and Western swing. Western swing was born right there in Fort Worth. I say there in Fort Worth because I'm not in my hometown right now. I'm up in the mountains of New Mexico, and I may just stay here. I don't know. I love it here, but yes. And so there's some opportunities that we have materialized for us, and we've been working diligently to land a place that a very historic dance hall, and it can seat 500-600 people, I think, if you really get them in there tightly. But more importantly, it's a historic place that Bob Wills has played at, and all kinds of other historic people have come through there and graced the halls of that place. And it's a beautiful old hall. The acoustics are really good. And so what we've done is Clarksville Creative Sound is going in. We're putting a state-of-the-art sound system in there that's just going to blow everybody away. And in return of us doing that, the hall is going to give us that venue to do regular concerts. So it's going to be one of the home bases for Clarksville Creative Sound. And and we're going to pull out all the stops on promoting these shows, and we're going to be doing live, high definition live streams from there. So our concerts will go way beyond the walls of Clarksville Creative National Hall in the name of Clarksville Creative Sound. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you and some of our other artists to get down there, and I think it's also going to be a part of this Route 66 tour that we're putting together with those guys too. So we're excited about all those opportunities, and that's what we're trying to do, is create as many opportunities as we can to get our music out to as many people as possible.
And I think Evie's one that would play well with a Texas crowd.
Oh,
They
would love her. Yeah.
She has energy, man. I mean, she reminds me of Mackenzie Becchetti in a lot of ways on stage. You could just look at those pictures that Brent's throwing up there, and you can see she's into this stuff, and it's great, man. And I laughed at you because you said you really wasn't nervous. I'm curious, have you ever been nervous walking on stage? I mean, probably the first time, right?
I'd say the first time I ever played, when I was I started singing out when I was 10 at nursing homes, and I'd say I was nervous then, but from there, I just don't get nervous going on stage anymore, because it's like I'm going home. Like, I feel at home on stage.
Steve's wife, Jill, and Braden, my son, you're whatever you guys are. I don't know. He is like, he was telling Jill, we were performing. He was performing at National Hall with Steve, and he was telling Jill how nervous he was. You remember that, Steve? And he had Jill believing that he was totally scared to death. He was so scared to go on stage, he didn't know if he's going to. Of course, it was all a big joke, you know, and she was so worried about him. And when you said you was nervous or wasn't nervous, I was thinking about that. I thought, poor Jill was, she was there ready to be mama, you know.
Yeah. You got to watch
kids that perform so much; they're not scared anymore.
You got to watch Braden. You can't think of value. You never know when he's I say playing you a little bit, you know. But it, you know, Braden's a great kid, and you know, so we love Braden, and Jill and Braden have a special. Jill's kind of like Braden's second mama, you know.
She really is.
She saw Braden, and it brought out the maternal instinct in her, and she sat down and real quickly she was interviewing him about, okay, tell me about, you know, who are you dating, and you know, and then, you know, what do you know, at that time I think Braden was kind of dabbling in a relationship, and Jill gave him a lot of, and then he started calling Jill after we parted ways, and that relationship didn't last very long. I think Braden realized it wasn't what he thought it was, but anyway, that was interesting to see. But yes, you know, so there's lots of opportunities that we're creating, and you know, and here's the thing, Evie, that you got to know if you've never played in Texas, and it, you know, maybe it's similar to other places you played, but in Texas, it's not so much about the applause that you get; it's how many people are on the dance floor. Texas is a dancing. People dance in Texas, you know, and so and I'll never forget the first time the A-list band and we took the stage for my CD release party last August, and Curt and I were up there, and everything kind of culminated in that one moment. And I remember my brother telling me, you know, you guys are going to do how many cover songs? And I said, we're not going to do, I don't think we're going to do maybe 1 or 2 cover songs, and we're playing 3 hours or so, and we're doing all originals. He goes, well, that's not going to work. People are going to come wanting to expect to hear, you know, Bob Wills, and they're going to expect to hear, you know, Merle Haggard. I said, well, Mike, we're going to, you know, I'm telling you, we're taking these songs out there, and we're going to take them out and introduce them to the public, and just watch what happens, you know. And I'm, of course, inside I'm going, well, I hope I'm right. Sure enough, at one point, Curt up on stage, Curt nudged me, and he said, look at the dance floor, and it was packed, and that was so gratifying. And like you're saying, you know, you feel that energy.
Yeah. And I want to say this, in addition to what Steve's talking about, that particular night, the dance floor was absolutely packed. We were playing Steve's album. Everything that we played on that stage was straight off of his album. And I absolutely stopped at the end of one song, and I got on the mic and I said, all of you folks out on the dance floor are dancing to songs you've never heard before. This is Steve Marquardt's new album. And awesome. Steve, how many albums? They went straight back to the back and started buying albums. I don't know how many he sold, but it was a lot.
I remember Connie, the lady that was selling merch for us. She at some point came to me on stage while I'm still up on stage. She goes, "I got to get some more CDs. We're running out, you know." And so I had to get somebody car. Pick up some CDs in my console, you know, because she'd gone through a whole box of them, and I thought, wow, this is great. So, you know, I just thought that was such a cool moment, because what we'd done with and these were mainly Western swing songs, and the whole theme of my album was this is swing country. But what we did is we stayed true to the genre of country music, but we took it in a different direction. You know, we kind of like Western swing was. Because that's what was happening with that music when it first came out in the 30s. They were picking up this influence and that influence, and they would hear a mariachi band and they'd bring that in and incorporate that, and they would bring in a little, you know, bohemian polka music and incorporate that. And I thought that's why that music was so wildly popular in the 30s when it was born, and for about 15 years or so, Bob Wills was the most popular. He was outselling Benny Goodman and all these big swing bands, and these West Coast artists were hearing this music when he started broadcasting out of Tulsa. 50,000 watts. And these West Coast artists were saying, I don't know what that music is, but I got to get to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he was getting all these great players coming in. And that's what made that music so exciting. And then at some point, I think when rockabilly hit and early rock and roll, and you had Bill Haley and the Comets putting out that very first rock and roll album. And of course, they were Western swing to begin with, but they made unknowingly the first rock and roll recording. And then Elvis came on the scene. And at that point in time, Western swing just kind of sat still and became a tribute genre for years. And so that was when Curt and I got together, and Curt said, man, I'm intrigued with Western swing. I've always loved it. And he said, I was looking for a Western swing artist, and here you are. And I said, well, I want to create new stuff. I don't, we got enough great tribute bands out there like Billy Mata and like Jason Roberts and the Texas Playboys. I said, so I want to bring we need new material. And we were able to do that. And so people would hear this music and in that live format, and you could tell that and a lot of people told me afterwards, they said, I feel like I heard that song before, but then I realized I'd never heard it. But you put signatures in there and things that were true to the traditional genre, but then you guys took it to a whole new place, like incorporating Dixieland horns and things like that. So that's the kind of stuff that Curt brought to just invaluable stuff, and we collaborated, and I've had so much fun collaborating with him on that kind of thing, and I'm sure you're experiencing that same thing, right?
Yes, very much so.
Well, Curt, one of the exciting things that you don't always get with a new artist coming in, because she's done so much touring regionally, is a fan base. And we want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. We got a great crowd in here, a lot of them from back in Southern Indiana, but a lot of them from all over the region here. And thank you to everybody watching. But Curt, that's exciting to kind of bring a ready-made fan base that's hungry for some new music here.
Yes, and I think Evie's going to have a huge social media platform soon. I mean, I say platform, I mean, she's going to have huge numbers out there on social media. I mean, I'm talking Instagram, YouTube. Steve and I are working on another platform where it's going to be awesome. And I haven't had a chance to even talk about that yet, but we're working on another platform where all the videos are going to go on this new platform, and the artists will actually get to make money for the first time, which is a wonderful thing. Steve, do you agree?
Yes, we're kind of our own platform. The thing about YouTube and Facebook and things like that is, and of course those are important platforms and important places to be. But as you can see on YouTube, for instance, when you get to a point where you're viral, you almost get penalized for that from a monetization standpoint. Right. And so it dawned on us, quite quickly that in order for us to effectively allow and help our artists and the label monetize this music, we have to create our own marketplace, and that's what we're working on. And of course, discoverability is a challenge as well, but we've got a network of hundreds of thousands, probably millions, that we can tap into, and that can continue to grow. And of course, all that happens organically as well. So with your fan base plugged in there, it's just gonna make it that much sweeter.
Yeah. And Evie, do you know any of these people that are on here right now? You want to say hi to these people?
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Most of them, the names aren't showing up, but Jeff Flamian's on here.
Oh yes, he's watching two of our dogs while we're down here.
Do you know Kathy Adams?
I do not.
Okay, Kathy Adams is on here. Jeff, we see some names on here. Of course, you guys are seeing a whole lot more people than we are, but there are a few people. We talk about this often, that we'd love to know who these people are. So if you have a name and you don't mind going out there and putting your name on there for Evie, all we see is a little thing that says Facebook user. So we'd like to know who all's on here. So if you would just put your name on here, and Evie will. And somebody here says, "Hey Evie, get Curt to sign your music chart." I don't know who that is, but anyway, yeah, just put your name on here and we'll recognize you. And we appreciate you being on the show.
I'll bet you Bowles is probably watching. He's a pretty loyal viewer, and of course we're loyal to his show, Swinging Country. And so at some point you'll have to do some world radio premieres with him.
Right.
His show gets syndicated and goes out through a lot of different outlets, including Rural Strong Radio, which is Brent's station, and that thing's growing rapidly. And so, at some point, you'll need to meet Billy and some of those folks as well. We've got some great DJs that really give our music wheels to travel.
And one of the folks on here is the guest we had on a couple of weeks ago, Carrie Romero, who was just in the studio before Evie. So, hey, Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
Carrie has the bluest eyes in Texas. That's what I tell her. We're going to write a song about that one of these days. But Carrie's a great artist. She was just in here a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And so we went through the same process with Carrie. That's her right there. And Carrie is a great singer. Obviously a really pretty girl too, and she's got a great personality. I love Carrie and her husband Chris. They came up and stayed with us, and we got some good stuff. So Carrie, I can't wait for you to. Carrie will actually be here shooting videos. We're shooting videos, by the way. We have our own videographer, of course, on staff here. We have Lance Goodman, who shoots all of our videos, and Lance has shot movies, and he shot things on Taylor Swift and all kinds of stuff, but he's got 5 or 6 videos to shoot this week. And so we're going to try to get a couple on Evie, a couple on Carrie, and maybe 1 or 2 others. So he got Braden last week, so we got all of his stuff out of the way. But yeah, we got a lot of work to do this week. It's going to be a long, hard week, but it's going to be fun.
Hey, Curt, I have to say I'm remiss because when she was on a couple of weeks ago, I forgot to bring up one of the most important points about her visit there, and that was her culinary skills. We forgot to talk about it, so here you go.
That is a cake that Carrie made and brought it in, and we ate that whole thing, and that thing was just bigger. And guys, y'all gotta come here and see this. Come here. Oh, you got it? Okay. You see that? You see the Clarksville Creative Sound thing there, that logo? That is not. It looks like this is stuck on there, but it's not. That's made. She made that out of like some kind of, I don't know, it's cake. It's part, you eat it.
Wow.
It's actually part of the cake. That's pretty amazing that she's able to do that. Carrie, also, I want to thank Carrie for she brought the best tamales I've ever seen in my life. She cooks Carrie is, you know what? Carrie is an amazing cook. That's exactly why Chris keeps her around, her husband.
Well, listen, I want to say something real quick about Carrie, and this is Evie's show today, but when we had Carrie on a couple of weeks ago, so last night we had our friends David and Stephanie Sweat from Plainview, Texas, and Curt, you met them when they came in for the festival. Good people, and Stephanie is all about. She's a huge traditional country. They both are a huge traditional country fan. But Stephanie, at one point, she goes, "Okay, Steve, talk to me about that girl you had on a couple of weeks ago, Carrie." And I said, "Yeah, she's a brand new artist. She's somebody that was brought to us through one of our unofficial talent scouts, Ronnie Ray." And she said, "Well, and she wants to be a country singer." And I said, "Well, yeah, she is." And she goes, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "Well, you brought up Emmylou Harris, and she said she didn't know who she was." I said, "I know. I told Carrie, I said, you need to do your homework." And of course, real quickly, because I told her, I said, "Your vocal remind me somewhat of Emmylou Harris," and she said on the show, she said, I don't know who that is," and Stephanie said, "You probably should have edited that out." And I said, No. I said, And I said, she darn sure knows who Emmylou is now. I can promise you that,
Right.
But a little dig on Carrie for that,
Yeah. You know what? Learning experience. And I'm sure Evie knows Emmylou.
Oh, yes. Dad has a crush on her.
Oh, okay. Tell us more. Well, we talk about you're still being in school. Do you look past high school? What's on your goal sheet? What are you thinking about beyond? I mean, do you want this to be your full-time vocation? Is there anything else you're thinking about? Where's your head these days in terms of what the future looks like?
Music is definitely first on the list. Like, if I can make music happen, then that's what's going to happen, because that would be amazing.
Are you going to college?
I plan to go to college. If it's kind of iffy, I'm thinking about going to college to be a vet, actually. I want to go to Purdue, around home, Lafayette. And but if music kind of works out, then vet school is going to be on the back burner. So
Yeah,
Nice.
that veterinarian track is, you got to be all in on that, because that's
yeah,
a lot of people say that's harder than being a regular human doctor, because you got to know all the different species of animals
yeah.
and not. So it's an amazing track. But I think it's important, for any artist to. I encourage anyone to at least take some business classes, because don't ever let anybody tell you how to read a contract. Don't ever let anybody, and so learning at least basics in business, both on the numbers side and the legal side, is so important if you're gonna, because ultimately you're in charge of your career. You don't ever want to be hostage to anyone else, and of course we as a record label will help you move along, but the ultimate decisions are going to be made by you. And so to be as informed and educated as you can on the business side is so important. Don't you agree, Curt?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely do. I mean, I'm just looking at some people now. They're putting their names on here on the thing. If you want to say, how do you know Julie?
Yeah, and Julie is one of my fans back at home.
Yeah, and
Number
Harley and Adam.
Harley and Adam are my dogs that Jeff's watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
That's what I love about this show. Carrie weighed in again. She says she knows who Emmylou is now. So good here. And then somebody else chimed in. We don't know who they are, but they said I actually played drums for Emmylou once. So
wow.
Not sure exactly who that is, but
Emmylou Harris she's known for singing a lot of duets in her day. She did a lot of duets with Vern Gosdin, and she also did a lot of duets with a guy that I used to produce. And I'm going to tell my age here, and a lot of people may remember Johnny Duncan. If you guys, Steve, do you remember Johnny Duncan?
Yeah.
He had a song called "She Could Put Her Shoes Under My Bed Anytime." It was a 4/4 shuffle Texas song. He had some big hits. He was very famous, and I produced an album on him back in the early '90s. And but she did a lot of duets with people. Emmylou was known for singing harmony, and her harmony was a hybrid of thirds and fifths. I don't want to get technical, but she didn't sing perfect harmony. She would just kind of fluctuate with the notes, and it became like it made her an icon. So yeah, Emmylou Harris to me has the sweetest voice, and I think you guys will agree.
Well,
Love Emmylou.
The guy that kind of discovered her, I believe, was Graham Parsons back in the late 60s, early 70s, and kind of pulled her along. He was with the Byrds at one time and was hanging out in that West Coast scene with David Crosby and all those guys. But and then he put on the nudie suit and went the country route. And Emmylou, I think the reason Graham loved her so much is she actually made his voice acceptable, because he didn't have the greatest voice. He kind of sang out of key, but he had a style, and he was just getting going in his career. And then I think addiction took him finally down completely, and I think there was a pretty serious relationship there that really devastated Emmy when he passed away. But he was kind of the one that discovered her. But yeah, what a voice she has.
We've got Marlene Connors checking in, who's a part of Curt's songwriters group. So we got a few people from the songwriters group here that are checking in today. Thank you to all those people who are watching. Yeah, we talked about Farron earlier. It's Father's Day weekend. Evie, talk a bit about the support, not to shortchange your mom, but to talk about the support he's given you as he's kind of pulled you into this music world here.
Yes, he is definitely a big part of why I've been into music. He has always been by my side on stage, and it's just, I couldn't imagine being on stage without him anymore. Like, I think that's when I get nervous to go on stage, is when he's not up there with me. He's like that support person that's kind of standing next to me. But he taught me all about music, like everything that I know, all the artists I know, he taught me. And he used to play around the house. He would play music a lot. But funny story, how I got into music was when I was like a little baby. He would play guitar while I took a bath and played with my little rubber ducks. And that's when I learned to sing Wagon Wheel, and that's the first song I ever learned to sing, is when he would sing that. He would sit on the toilet, and I'd be in the bath playing with my rubber ducks, listening to him sing.
That's funny.
A career was born.
Go out.
What?
Try to make a music video out of that.
Yeah, no kidding.
If Braden were here, he would be going, "Oh, that's creepy." I love it. That's great.
I can get real creepy. That's why we in town, right?
Well, happy Father's Day to Farron and to all the dads out there, including Curt and Steve. A big weekend coming up again here. Evie, what's the summer looking like for you, and how can folks follow your career?
Yeah, I'm going to be busy playing in mostly July and August because I've been down in Clarksville most of June. But I'm all over social media. I have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. It's EV Mae, and it's spelled EVMAE. And then I also have a website, e-bmae.com, where it shows all of my coming up shows. And just if you want to know more about me, it's all on there.
Make sure you go and check that website out. And before we get out of here, I want to share with you a song that was one of the first ones that Curt heard that really had him sold on EV Mae. This song is The Wrong Side of Jesus. Tell us about this song.
I co-wrote this song with a guy out of Kentucky. His name is Adam Scott. And I thought about, there's a lot of people that go to church and they go through the motions of being a good Christian, but then behind the scenes they talk about people, or they just really aren't good Christians, but they try to act like they are on the surface. And I kind of got tired of it, so I wrote a song about it, basically saying, like, some people need to find the right side of Jesus.
And it's a great song. We're going to share it with you right now. This is Wrong Side of Jesus.
Thought your words would slow me down, said I was wasting my time. Oh, but look at me now. No, I ain't made it where I'm heading, but it's further than the day you said I never amount to anything. You just live Sundays in a few. If you wanna see who needs the change, answer ain't that far away. Look in the mirror and you'll see the truth. You just live on the wrong side of Jesus, and no one sees it, got everyone thinking I shut you off, but you cut us loose. Show through. I'm not really sure if I ever knew the real you. You're just living on the wrong side of Jesus. No one sees it, got everyone thinking I shut you off, but you cut us loose. You ain't who I used to know. Back then your love's wanted me in the most.
And anybody who says that Evie Mae is not going anywhere can go kick rocks, because she's on her way to stardom here, and we're here for it. And Curt, you can't teach vocals like that, man.
No, and when I heard that, I knew she hadn't had a lot of experience in recording studios, and I dare anybody to find very much wrong with that vocal. She just sings very in tune. Her meter is absolutely perfect. The passion is in her voice. Everything a producer is looking for in an artist is in that song right there. And when I heard it, I was like, this will be a fun, easy artist to work with in the studio, because she's just got that talent. Sometimes it's just a God thing. Some artists just have to really struggle, but this girl does not, and she's very, very good. And we're going to knock out some vocals this week. And you wait till you hear this album, guys. I'm telling you, all the people on here today listening, and I know the guy that taught you how to hunt's on here. What's his name?
Charlie Cryline. He taught me how to hunt and how to shoot a gun. That picture of me hunting, and that's him in it.
So, hi, Charlie. Thank you for teaching her how to hunt. I don't know that I want a gun in her hands around me, but
Yep.
He says she's radio ready, and we couldn't agree more. That's
I totally agree.
Well, again, let's get that website out there so we can plug it here.
Yeah. And that's the website right there. So
excellent. Any last words before we get out of here, Evie?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that listened in today, and especially the people from around home. I really appreciate all the support.
Yeah, shout out.
One last thing I'd like to say, Brent, before we get off the air, is just, there's a lot of new people on here. Maybe you could enlighten everybody on how to listen to you on rural strong radio.
Absolutely. Yes, we'll get into that in just a second here. But before we do that, don't go anywhere, because I do want to tell you about that. But I do want to find out from both you and Steve, what else is going on right now at Clarksville Creative Sound?
Well, of course, this week we've got to finish up Evie's album. Carrie's is finished, so we're working on Evie's now. We got a lot of videos to shoot, but once this thing is done, Steve and I are going to take a month, or not a month, but I'm taking off the month of July because I've been working a little too hard, so I'm going to take a break. But Steve and I and John Castleberry and a bunch of us songwriters are going up to Smoky Mountains, and we're going to have another songwriters retreat up there and write another album. We enjoy doing that every year. So,
well, I didn't know if I'd be able to do this or not today, but that's a good time for a reminder that what happens in the Smoky Mountains stays in the Smoky Mountains, unless it doesn't.
Brent, I don't know why I tolerate you. Every time he has that video, always right there. I love you for that, brother. That's funny.
That the wig was Curt's idea.
Look, Steve wanted a real woman in this video. I'm just telling you. And there wasn't any women here. And I said, well, dude, I'm about as close as you're going to get, it looks like. So I just put on one of my wife's wigs and did it. And Brent can't show that enough. And
That's right.
I know it. Brent, you got to save that, though, for the right moment. Of course, the timing's pretty good. But remember, you show it too much, it loses its luster as blackmail.
I think Steve just don't want it shown.
Oh, it'll never get old. We also want to make sure that we plug Road Stories with Curt Ryle, which is coming up this Monday, June 19th. We've moved it to a different time for the summer here, 8 p.m. Central, every other Monday. Curt Ryle, Road Stories Facebook page, the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook page. Make sure you get plugged into that, because it's always great to sit down and hear pull back the curtain a little bit on some of the career.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun one next Monday. Last week we had a pretty funny road story show. We were talking about Ernie Ashworth and his. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. If you haven't seen it, go out there and look at it. It's out there. Where is it at, Brent? How can people look at that?
Go join the Curt Ryle Road Stories Facebook group. I believe it's also on the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group. So go get plugged into those so you can follow that. Also, make sure you get plugged into this Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group and the Rural Strong Media Facebook page. I know we've got a lot of new followers here who've come in with EV Mae. We hope you'll stick around and come back every week here. We do one of these shows where we can kind of spotlight some new artists, both coming through Clarksville Creative Sound and just part of the musical fabric of Fort Worth, Texas, which was why this show was created, so we could showcase some of the great musical history coming out of Fort Worth, Texas. So get plugged into those. And as Curt mentioned, and I appreciate that, I'd invite you all to check out Rural Strong Radio, which is our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com and on the Live 365 streaming radio app. It plays the best in traditional country music, Western swing, and bluegrass with a little bit of Southern rock and inspirational as well. And we'd love for you to check it out. Again, ruralstrongmedia.com. Also on the Live 365 streaming radio app. So get that in your app store, put it on your phone, and search for Rural Strong Radio. You can take us with you 24/7. You're going to hear EV Mae on there. You're going to hear a lot of the great Clarksville Creative Sound artists, and you're going to hear everything else from Jimmy Rogers and Bob Wills to Asleep at the Wheel to Merle Haggard, all Haggard Jones, Willie Nelson, all those on down to Cody Johnson, Eric Church, Justin Moore, some of those folks. It's a really great musical history lesson, so we hope you'll check that out. And a couple programming notes on Rural Strong Radio. On Sundays at 9 a.m. Central, we feature two great programs coming out of Texas. First, from Vidor, Texas to the world, it's Robbie Lynn with Sunday's Kind of Country. Robbie plays 3 hours of great inspirational country music from legendary artists and independents, and it's a great way to fill your soul and get your week started. Then I come in with about a 15-minute short set starting about 12:45, 11:45 Central, where we play about 15 minutes of great inspirational music leading you up to the top of the hour, noon Central, when we bring in the aforementioned Billy Bowles with Billy Bowles Swinging Country, emanating out of the KSSL studios in Lubbock, Texas. He has 2 hours of great Western swing and traditional country music, some of the greatest music around. He world radio premieres a lot of great independent artist music, including that of Clarksville Creative Sound artists. So make sure you go check that out. Again, 9 a.m. Central for Robbie Lynn with Sunday's Kind of Country, and then noon Central for Billy Bowles Swinging Country. And we hope you get plugged in there. And Steve, another big week planned for next week as well, as we kind of shift gears and talk Western swing.
Yes. Before we move on to that, though, I just want to mention, how important, Brent, that what you do, how important that is to us and to the world, basically. Your position as a board member of the National Association of Farm Broadcasters. I can't think of a better demographic than the salt of the earth people that are out there working tirelessly to bring food to the tables of America. And those are the people that love and appreciate the kind of music that we're putting out there. And so I can't think of a better match than what you're doing and the audience that you reach and the music that we strive to create, and with people like EV Mae, every day. And so hats off to you, Brent. And, I also want to say, I know Evie's she's talked about having some live performances coming up very quickly. Some of our other artists that have some live shows coming up, Mackenzie McKetty in Austin, I believe, are opening for Gene Watson. And I don't have dates in front of me, but that's a major opportunity for them and major opportunity for Clarksville Creative Sound as a label. And I think they're doing a show in Chandler, Oklahoma, on that Route 66 thing. They're the first artist to kind of get tied in with Sam Kicks in the Kick 66 thing. And so we're working on solidifying, hopefully, a relationship with them and kind of having a Clarksville Creative Sound tour of our own under that umbrella, which is a very interesting venture that we're excited about. And then we've got the National Hall thing in Fort Worth as well. So lots of things to be excited about going on with us. And, Curt and I we're always looking for opportunities to leverage and get our artists out there and give them as much exposure as possible, and to get this wonderful music out to as many people as possible. And so, yes, so on to next week's show. Yesterday, my brother Mike, who, by the way, Curt, if we recorded everybody Mike said we had to record, he sends us at least 2 or 3 video clips a day. You must record this person.
I love Mike, because Mike, I got a message from Mike just this morning saying that when you guys play at National Hall, you got to get this guy up to sing, you got to get this guy up. If we got everybody up there Mike wanted us to, Steve would never sing a song. but I love Mike because he's so energetic, and he's the guy that brings a lot of energy to what we do. So God love Mike, and if it wasn't for Mike, we would not have that wonderful documentary of the birth and history of Western swing. And that's the best documentary on the planet, bar none. If you haven't seen it, you are in for a treat. This thing was, and I know he spent a fortune on this thing, but it's really incredible.
Yeah, I would love to see Evie and her family come down for the festival and take that in, and get you on stage too. Heck, we'll just have a party up there. But yes, one of the people, Mike, said that asked if we could get him on stage, which it's be an honor to have him on stage, is the great Al Dressen.
Oh yeah.
And Al has been around. He's performed and played with a lot of the original Texas Playboys. He performed with our friend Louise Rowe, and we're going to try to get Louise on stage when Al's going to do a couple of songs with us, and then Mike's going to do a presentation honoring Al, because Al just got inducted into the Western Swing Hall of Fame. So what a great guy Al is. I think, Curt, you met him last year.
Oh yeah. Great.
He does a killer job, and he's still out there performing. So we're excited. So we've asked Al to be on Fort Worth Musical Moments next week. So he'll be he and Mike will both be on that show, because Mike knows Al's story very intimately. So we'll kind of let Mike co-host that one as well. So we're excited about that.
I don't know if I'll be able to find any TikTok videos on him, but we'll have a fun time.
Well, Mike is pulling together with Al.
Yeah, we won't have any doubts that he'll have us well prepared for that.
Yeah, sure. Your challenge is weeding through the item I'm going to send you, because Mike's an overachiever by far. But Mike is with Al this weekend. They're down at the Anhalt Hall, some Western Swing festival down there of sorts, and Mike is screening his film down there, The Birth and History of Western Swing, which, yes, that film is a landmark film, and it's so important. And it, my hope is that film, as it gets more widespread viewing, will bring new fans into our kind of music.
I love it. So make sure you're tuned in at 10 a.m. Central next Friday for Fort Worth Musical Moments. And Evie, this has been a delight. I'm excited to see everything that's happening for you here, and we certainly wish you the best of success here, and enjoy the rest of your time here in Clarksville.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me out today.
Thank you, Evie, and we're thrilled to have you on board. Can't wait to hear your new music.
Thank you.
And while she is there, I'm actually going to be slipping into her hometown tomorrow for we've got our 30-year high school class reunion. So shout out to the class of 1993. Gosh, man, it seems like it's been forever. But a big 30-year reunion tomorrow there in Jasper, Indiana. So shout out to those folks.
30-year reunion. Wow. You just told your age. You just gave your age.
Yeah, my reunion was 2003, so you're a lot older than me, Brandon.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm catching up to you.
So when you go to those reunions, I don't know about you, but I went to my 40th reunion a few years ago, and I'm like, man, these people are old. And I go,
right.
One of these people.
Yeah, I'm bracing for that.
And Jill assured me, Steve, you've aged a lot better than a lot of those folks. I said, well, I know it's sure as heck not due to clean living. It's been kind to me, I guess, in spite of myself.
I love it. I love it. Well, I tell you what, this show automatically archives. So if you missed any portion of it, make sure you go back and watch it all, share it with your friends, and tell them all about EV Mae. And Evie, thank you again. Until next week, keep riding tall in that saddle and make it a great week, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.